Okay, tonight's dinner, we are having a hometown favorite of ours called Barberton Chicken.
Barberton Chicken.
Yes.
We are going to tell you a little bit about this Barberton Chicken in just a minute, but I can't help but say right now, I'm really excited about this. This is my favorite chicken of my lifetime. Here they are, just waiting for some fine seasoning and good handling until they are cooked and ready to be chowed down on. Take it away, Shelly.
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what the recipe is going to end up being.
That is the other thing. The lore of the Barberton Chicken.
Right.
We don't know anybody who worked at one of these restaurants. There is a magic to this chicken. It's unlike anything you've ever tasted. So yes, we're kind of going by a little recipe or that rumor or that interview about someone who worked in the restaurant. Okay, back to you, Shelly. Sorry about that.
That's okay. See how excited
I'm really excited about this.
And of course, we also are making it keto. So we know that Barberton chicken is supposed to be floured first, and then it'll have an egg dip, and then it'll be there'll be some breadcrumbs, which we'll talk about in a minute. But we have to keto that, so we're going to use almond flour and a little bit of coconut flour, not too much coconut flour because I think it then takes on the flavor of coconut a little too much. So I'm just going to use I'm going to see what 3/4 of a cup of almond flour looks like.
Super fine almond flour.
Yeah, if it's going to be enough to bread all of that chicken or not.
This super fine almond flour is fine, but it's not as fine as normal flour.
Right.
Right.
So that's 3/4 of a cup of that, and then 1/4 of a cup of the coconut flour. So I don't know that that's going to be enough to do all the chicken, but if we need to do more, we'll just, I don't know, it might be enough. So we're going to add in just salt and pepper. That's the other thing about Barberton chicken. Some people will say only salt.
Right.
And some people will say salt and pepper. We're going to do salt and pepper.
And there's even more to it than that. There's an overnight stay in the fridge after a nice salt
no
bath.
brining.
Yes.
Nobody really knows except for the people who created this recipe.
Yes, and it was not created for the restaurant. I'm getting ahead of myself. I can't stop thinking about it.
That's okay. So I put in a teaspoon of salt and pepper into this. And we're going to take this and bread the chicken. Okay, we are going to bread this chicken. And we have 3 pounds of chicken here. We just decided to go with chicken thighs, but traditionally you would use the entire chicken.
The whole chicken.
So I'm going to get started flouring this while we talk a little bit about Barberton chicken. And I just have already kind of cleaned them up and got all the all the extra skin and stuff off. You can leave it on if you want to, and dried them off. So while I'm breading this chicken, we'll talk a little bit about what we know or don't know about Barberton chicken.
There's more that we don't know about this chicken than what we do know, but I will say this chicken was it's a Serbian style chicken. And it came to America through some immigrants who came to America at the turn of the century, and around the time of the Great Depression, they had to sell their family farm. They ended up opening a restaurant. The restaurant was not based on this chicken. They sold other things. I'm not sure what they sold at that time, but I know that they gave their employees, their workers, Serbian-style chicken. And so customers were seeing these people eat the Serbian-style chicken and fries and slaw.
And something called hot rice, which we're also going to somewhat try to recreate. It's going to be hard to do keto, but we're going to figure it out.
We'll figure it out. And this chicken, the chicken restaurant was called Belgrade's, and it opened in 1933. And then it eventually, I think one of the employees from there opened up their own restaurant like 6 or 8 years later. And there became a collection of about 4, maybe 5 chicken restaurants in Barberton, Ohio. That's where this is native to. And they sort of competed with each other over the years. And I think at least 1 or 2 of them have gone out of business. But
they've been featured on, what's that show? Like a Food Smackdown kind of thing.
Yeah,
I forget what it's called.
Yep.
But yeah.
And so there was Belgrade chicken, there was White House chicken, there was Devores chicken.
Yep.
I think that's what it was called, Devores chicken. And then there was my favorite chicken was
Hopocan Garden.
Hopocan Gardens. Now that was in part my favorite because it was closest to Grandma's house. And so every time we went to Grandma's house, Mom and Dad guaranteed a stopover at Hopocan Gardens. And although the meal would consist of a variety of pieces of chicken and the hot sauce that Shelly mentioned, and slaw, as a kid, I would always get it with double fries, no hot sauce, no slaw, and some applesauce on the side. And I could dip my blazing hot fries into this ice cold applesauce. And it was heaven. And I'll never forget, and I have a picture of it, I'll try and include it in this video, of the owners of the restaurant. Their picture sat at the front near the register, and I have a picture of it, and some other details as we go along, and we're talking out loud about this chicken. So that's the main history of it that we know of, and it is just a favorite. Every time we go back to Ohio, I've got to get this chicken. Now we're going to take this chicken, wrap it up, and put it in the refrigerator because it's not time for us to eat. It's not even 4 o'clock. It's almost 4 o'clock. Our eating window is generally around 6.
Well,
so, yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and then a whole other mystery to this is some people have said or written that the chicken should be put like this in the fridge overnight. Some have said you go ahead and do the egg wash and the breadcrumbs, and then you let it sit overnight. And then some say you just do it all at once. So we'll never know because we don't have the actual recipe and we weren't there.
Our stomachs will be the judge,
Yeah.
Shelly. I've made this once before, but not as a keto. And I did I brined the chicken and wrapped it and let it sit overnight after it had been floured. And I thought it came out fantastic. It was very, very close to the original chicken.
Yep. Okay, the breadcrumbs for the Barberton chicken are going to be made using keto bread, which has 0 net carbs, which means that this is going to keep our fried chicken very low carb.
I thought you were going to say healthy.
No, not healthy. We're still frying it in lard.
If you're not doing keto, if you're doing a low-fat diet, this meal may not be for you.
Not.
Yeah. So you've toasted the bread.
I have put it in an oven at 225 for almost an hour. And, I mean, there's it's very hard, which will make good breadcrumbs. So I'm putting it in the Ninja here.
You said 225?
225 for an hour.
Okay.
You don't want to put it up higher than that to try to get it done earlier, or else you will actually toast it.
Yeah.
This is not toasted. This is just dried out.
Extremely dried out.
And this is what we're left with, which is feels just like regular breadcrumbs.
Sweet.
Okay, we are starting on the hot rice, which is really, it's rice in a tomato-based sauce.
Like a dipping sauce for your chicken.
Right, and it's spicy. And of course we can't use rice, but we can use butter. So we're gonna start off by heating up some butter and adding in 1/2 of a medium-sized onion and an entire whole large jalapeno. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is take some tomatoes. You can use crushed tomatoes or diced tomatoes. I'm using diced tomatoes just because it actually has fewer carbs for whatever reason than the can of crushed tomatoes did. Or you can also use stewed tomatoes. So this is about 1.5 cups. The recipe calls for 3 cups, but it's assuming that you're going to be cooking your rice in it, and we won't have rice. We will have something else that doesn't require, it won't be soaking up any juice. So we're going to put this into a blender, and we're going to go ahead and add in this mixture.
Because the original Barberton chicken, we don't recall any kind of chunks of peppers or onions in there. And we don't know what kind of pepper they used, so we're using jalapeno. But
Yeah, they just say hot pepper.
hot pepper.
So, and we're just going to pulse this. Okay.
That's good, huh?
Right, so we'll put this back in the pan, and then we're going to add some paprika and salt and pepper. Okay, I've got smoked paprika here, and I'm going to use a teaspoon of it. They also don't tell you how much paprika, they just say paprika, salt, and pepper.
But it's a pretty spicy hot sauce, is it? Would you say? I was never a big fan, but
Yeah, it's, some people call it hot sauce, some people call it hot rice.
yeah.
There is actually a Serbian name for it, and I couldn't for the life of me
Yeah.
pronounce it.
Would you say it's pretty spicy though, or not?
It depends on which place you went to for your hot rice. Some were hotter than others, but yeah, I would call it a spicy dish.
I think my son-in-law Corey would say White House has the best rice. Isn't that what he said?
I think so.
Everybody has their favorite if you're in that area.
Yeah,
For me,
and-
it was Hopocan Gardens, but other
Right.
people like Belgrade's or White House.
Yeah, I think Hopocan Garden rice is a lot runnier, and White House, it seemed like it was a little bit thicker. We are not going to be, we're going to be adding cognac or shirataki rice to this, which is not rice at all.
But it looks like rice.
But it looks like it, and it, you know, takes on the, I'm gonna say it takes on the flavor of rice, but it takes on the flavor of whatever it's soaking in. So we're hoping that it'll feel enough like it. Okay, this is our shirataki rice or cognac rice. We have taken it out of the package, rinsed it really, really well, like a good minute or 2 under cold water, and then dried it as best as we could. We dried it with paper towels, and then we laid it out on this baking sheet and just let it air dry for a little bit. That's hopefully so that it'll soak up some of this juice. So this is 2 bags, which is actually just supposed to be 2 servings, but for the recipe we're calling it 3 servings because it's a side dish, and I don't feel like we'll be eating that much rice.
Right.
So, so I'm going to add this, and we're just going to let it sit in here and soak all the goodness up. Hopefully it'll soak up.
And the reason it required so much preparation is because cognac rice sometimes has a fishy smell. Although this particular brand, I don't think it's very strong at all, but just in case.
So as I stir this in, I'm going to know pretty quickly if I'm going to need to add more tomato juice. I have, you know, again, the recipe called for 3 cups, and we've only put in half of that because I wasn't sure how much to put in with having rice, basically rice that was already cooked. So now if you like the hot sauce from Hopkins, you're probably going to want to add more tomato sauce than this. But I think this is pretty good. I'm going to let it sit here and simmer for a while, and then we'll just turn it off while we prepare everything else. Okay, we have hot rice in the back just chilling out off the heat. I've got a cup of water here I'm bringing to a boil because we're also going to try to make some French fries. Don't know how these are going to turn out, but the recipe is pretty interesting. I've got a cast iron skillet over here. This is how we're going to cook the chicken. And I'm gonna turn this on to about 225, and it'll just be at that heat so that as we're frying chicken and pulling it out of the pan, we can keep it nice and warm.
The original French fries at Hopocan Gardens are fresh cut, and they have skins on them or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got 2 eggs here and probably about a tablespoon of water. And I'm just gonna mix these together because we do need to have an egg wash for the chicken to go in before we put them in our breadcrumbs that we made. Those breadcrumbs are not gonna have any seasoning on. Okay, these French fries are gonna be made out of a dough. And it's pretty much just gonna be coconut flour, almond flour, oat fiber, and xanthan gum, salt, and boiling water. And it's gonna form a dough that will roll out, cut into fry shapes, and deep fry.
What could possibly go
I
wrong?
know. So we need a cup of almond flour. This is gonna make about 40 fries, which I'm wondering, should we cut this in half, you think?
Nope.
Okay, so 1 cup of almond flour, 1/2 a cup of coconut flour, and then we're gonna use 6 teaspoons of xanthan gum. So the thing about xanthan gum is, like, it's used to make things thick and bind things together. That's 3, right?
Yep.
4. Better not talk while I'm doing this. 5.
She has blonde hair. I just want to point that out.
6. It can get very sticky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See our pizza dough recipe.
And I'm going to use 3 teaspoons of oat fiber. Pretty much, this is not oat flour. It does not have any carbs at all in it. It does have lots of fiber.
Great. Mix this with some of those sugar-free gummy bears, and it's party time.
All right. We're going to add a teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to mix this together. Okay, this is all mixed together. You want to make sure you don't have any big lumps in there. And then I've got 1 cup of water that's boiling. So now I'm just going to pour this in here, and we'll see what happens. Now, I will say, I have coming in probably within the next week some mashed potato flavored extract. And I wish I had it today because I would be adding some of that flavoring into here to make it taste a little bit more like potato. I really don't know what to expect with this, honestly, but trying to get all of that flour down at the bottom sucked up, and then I'm just going to put it out and treat it just like dough. You don't need this like a regular dough. You just got to make sure that it comes together, and I think I might just let this sit here for a minute before I roll it out.
This is 1 container of Armour lard, 16 ounces, 1 pound, and we're just going to melt it down here and get it ready for the chicken.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and dip all of our floured chicken thighs into the egg mixture. Again, this is 2 eggs, and it's actually probably more like 2 tablespoons of water. So, and then here are our dried plain breadcrumbs. So we'll just start, put it in there, let that soak up, but not too much. And then get that in there, pat that down.
You want to push those breadcrumbs into the chicken, or chicken into the breadcrumbs, however you want to word that, but
Probably should have got a deeper dish.
that will help it stick.
I'm going to attempt to roll this out. It says you don't need to put it in between 2 pieces of parchment like you would normally. So we'll see how that goes. But you do want to get it thin. I mean, I guess you can have thick fries. My guess is the thinner you get them, the crispier they will get when you fry them. You can, I'm gonna have to get something here. You can use the air fryer, but they said the absolute best thing to do is to deep fry them, just like regular French fries. Much easier with parchment paper on the top, even though it said you didn't need to use it.
That is one long French fry. Yeah, just over 320.
Yeah, one thing about this chicken is they do say to cook it low and slow. Now you don't want to cook it too low, or else the chicken's just going to absorb all of the oil.
We're trying to lower the temperature of this oil a bit, closer to 275, 260, somewhere in there. And we know when the chicken goes in, it's going to lower the temperature of it as well.
Right.
In the oven, we have a pan awaiting the chicken as it comes out, but it's allegedly going to take about 20-25 minutes of cooking in this oil to get it done.
So it's right now it's at just under 300. I've got it set at between 2 and 3 on a gas range. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and just put one piece of chicken in. We've done the test with that. It does seem to be frying it, but I'm worried if we put a bunch of chicken in at the same time that it'll lower the heat too much and then it'll soak up all of the oil, which is not what we want. Let's get this first.
Maiden voyage.
Yeah. Okay. Ready?
Ready, go for it.
That's nice. I think it's going to be a good temperature. Okay, we're getting ready to turn them. I just want to double check real quick before I turn them that my oil, sorry, is still, I'm keeping it between 250 and 260. So it looks like that's about where it's at. So they're good to turn. Okay, we're at about 158 for that one. I just did this one and it was at 165. So we're gonna pull this one out. Check this one and not check this one out.